All right, thank you all so much for being here. My name is Tyler Hahn. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Charlottesville Police Department. If you need the spelling of my name, it's Tyler. Last name is Hawn. Of course, we're here to announce the arrest of a juvenile in the case involving an online threat at Charlottesville High School. I'm joined here with Chief Rochelle Brackney with the Charlottesville Police Department, Dr. Rosa Atkins of Charlottesville City Schools, Superintendent, Mayor Nakia Walker of Charlottesville, and also Leslie Beauregard, the Assistant City Manager, Jennifer McKeever from the who is the chair of the Charlottesville City School Board. And with that, I'm going to introduce Chief Brackney over here to give some remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As you know, on March 20th, 2019, the Charlottesville Police Department was alerted to a threat circulating on the online site 4chan. The specific content of the threat contained vile, racially charged language which targeted African American and Hispanic students within the Charlottesville High School. After receiving the communication, we immediately assembled a team of detectives, contacted the Charlottesville School District, and launched a full and robust investigation. Fully supported by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the Virginia State Police, and Albemarle County Police Department, along with the Charlottesville School District, our team was able to identify the source and the person behind the threat. Therefore, early this morning, we executed a search warrant in Albemarle County for the suspect, and as a result, arrested and charged a 17-year-old juvenile in connection with those threats. He was charged with the following: threats to commit serious bodily harm to persons on school property, which states any person who communicates a threat in writing, including electronically transmitted communications, producing a visual or electronic message to kill or do bodily harm on the grounds or the premises thereof to any person or persons, regardless of whether that person is the object of the threat, actually receives the threat, and that the threat would place the person who is the object in fear of death or bodily harm, and that is a Class 6 felony. Also charged was harassment by computer, which states any person with the intent to coerce, intimidate, harass any person shall using a computer or computer network to communicate obscene, vulgar, profane, lewd, or indecent language, or make any suggestion or proposal of an obscene nature or threaten any illegal or immoral act, is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor. I want to take this moment to acknowledge the department, the work of our detectives, which was put in to determine the individual behind the threat, and the cooperation that we received from our local, our state, and our federal partners. Please note, although there was a similar incident and arrest which occurred in Albemarle County, these two incidents are not related. And finally, we want the community to know that any threats made against our schools, credible or not, are taken seriously and will be thoroughly investigated. Any threats made against our community and its residents will be thoroughly and vigorously investigated. We want the community and the world to know that hate is not welcomed in Charlottesville. Violence is not welcomed in Charlottesville. Intolerance is not welcomed in Charlottesville. And in Charlottesville and around the globe, we stand firmly in stating there are not very fine people on both sides of this issue. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Charlottesville City Schools, I would like to extend a hearty thank you to Chief Brackney, to our Charlottesville Police Department, to our state, federal, and all other agencies that participated in the apprehension of this individual. Even though this threat has been resolved, the fear and anxiety that it provoked is real. Our counselors and partners from Region 10 and area support teams are preparing now how to respond and to support our students, our staff, and our parents in order to bring back calm in our system. I find it particularly troubling that a person who's not a part of the Charlottesville school system and community made such a hateful, divisive threat under the guise of being a Charlottesville high school student. Since August 2017, our community has made a good faith effort to have these difficult conversations about race and equity and build trust and relationships in our school system and in our community. And this comment attempted, although it failed, to undermine our efforts and our community. And with this, we condemn those efforts. Even so, I know that our students, staff, and community members have come together and will stay together. We have seen it in the past few days. During the time that our schools have been closed, our community has come together, the City of Promise, with many volunteers in our community, to provide meals for our students, to play games, and to engage with those individuals that were so severely impacted by this event. We have seen it in our principals, teachers, and staff members. We are one in Charlottesville City Schools. Our school board has stood strong during these past few days. We applaud the efforts of everyone who has been involved in this apprehension and in the closing of our schools, and we say thank you. We look forward to using this weekend to adjust and plan for opening our schools on Monday morning. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank our Assistant City Manager, Leslie Beauregard, our Chief of Police, Dr. Brackney, and the detectives on our team who have worked over the past 48 hours to help resolve this issue along with state and federal law enforcement. I would just like to send the message to the community that our police department is working on behalf of the community and to make sure that our students are safe, our faculty is safe, and our staff members are safe. I would like to also thank the parents for their patience and commitment to our school districts. We got a lot of questions. There was a lot of fear involved, and I know there will be fear on Monday. And I hope that the way that the city came together and resolve this issue helps lighten the fear that's on their hearts. As for the nation, this is just another example of where we are in this fight against injustice and hatred in our country. And I hope, as Chief Brackney stated, that the world is aware that this will not be welcomed in Charlottesville, and that we wake up every day with the hope, the purpose, and the passion to make sure that we are leading this fight for justice globally. Thank you.
And we'll take any questions you all might have for us. Just let me know who you would like to speak with.
First, the chief is a male non-student suspect. Is black or white? You know the race of the student.
Thank you. The male suspect identifies as Portuguese.
American citizen.
We don't ask for status, nor do we ask for immigration status or of any of our persons that we arrest. So that is how they identify.
Does this person have a previous criminal record or any kind of issues like that?
As this is a juvenile that we are engaging and dealing with, we can only provide very limited information. But just know that that this individual, we believe, is acting alone and did not act with anybody else. So prior history, prior criminal history, and things of that nature would not complicate or build into this particular incident.
Well, Dr. Atkins says also there was a non-student.
That is correct. This is not a Charlottesville high school student. This person is a resident of Albemarle.
Chief, what led to finding this individual? Did it come from investigating an online threat, or did you have any tips or anything that led to this person?
So we won't, of course, reveal our sources and means, but it was actually detective work once we were alerted to it. So there's a lot of work and expertise that goes into tracing these type of threats online. As you know, they are typically on the dark web, so they're covered up, and IP addresses are very difficult and challenging. But internet providers assisted us, law enforcement professionals nationally and internationally were assisting us with those types of endeavors so that we could mine and get the correct information and identify the suspect.
You said that the threats targeted Hispanic and African American people. Can you tell us what the threats were exactly?
I mean, they've been on, but they definitely referenced ethnic cleansing, and that those individuals were going to be targeted for that purpose of ethnic cleansing.
Is there a response to community members who feel like even though he's a minor, he's 17, and if he terrorizes the community, he should be identified?
So we are restricted by state law and by prosecution as to whether or not you can identify, and there are protections in place for juveniles. So unless the Commonwealth's attorney or it's changed to a charging of an adult, we are not permitted to release any information protecting or relating to any juvenile arrest.
Well, Chief, I talked to Chief Lance this morning. He said there were several comments that came in from the public about that threat. Did you get the same thing where other people were giving, I mean, citizens were giving tips to you about this?
Yes, we receive multiple sources of communication from the community at large, not necessarily able to identify if they were local or if they were just national and had also been on that site, as well as there were quite a other places that reached out to the school district directly and said that they had seen these postings as well. So we did get a lot of support. That's the great thing about social media these days, that although people try to hide and remain anonymous behind it, there are a lot of individuals out there who will not allow you to stay hidden in your hate.
And how will things look for students Monday when they go back to school? I know some parents are concerned about that, although you've made an arrest. How will things look Monday?
I probably think that Dr. Atkins would be the best person to answer that question.
Well, if you've been around our community today, you've seen that there are teachers, there are principals, there are administrators, there are small children walking around the community engaging with our students today. So our entire staff, they are charged up, they're ready. They want our students to know that hate has no place in our community nor in our school division, and we are about equity. So we will embrace our students. We will give them a warm welcome on Monday morning. We'll send out a communication Sunday afternoon to all of our staff to prepare everyone for coming back on Monday. Our counselors and our psychologists have been working and developing some instructions for our parents and strategies for our parents if they would like to talk with their young person about this incident, and they will be on hand at all of our schools in order to respond to any needs that our students or our staff might have on Monday morning.
Any plans for more police at school on Monday?
You know, I can tell you at the start of this incident, one of the things that Chief Brackney assured us of, that they would be there for us, they would send as many law enforcement officers and as many resources as needed in order to make sure that our students and our staff and our schools were safe. And I don't think that changes on Monday morning. We feel like we will open at normal time and have a normal day.
Chief Brackney, I wonder if the police have been able to identify this as a credible threat that the arrested suspect could have gone through with, or if it's simply a prank.
So I think we actually demean the intent of the threat if we call it a prank. Regardless of whether they have the capacity, the thing about terrorism is that it does strike fear in each and every one of our hearts, and you don't necessarily need to have a weapon in your hand to strike that type of fear. Thus, the laws have been changed to reflect that. So I won't dignify it at all by calling it a prank. Just the opposite. A person who intentionally posts something on a website regarding ethnic cleansing and targeting individual groups, that person should be charged, and rightfully so, that any threat that they made, we should presume that it is credible.
Well, Chief, is it just local charges, state charges, federal charges? How far could this go?
So at this point, it's state charges. We operate under state statutes. And then we will work with our federal law enforcement partners to identify if there are additional charges that could be pending.
Did law enforcement recover any weapons or any
We would not divulge any of that information as to the additional supporting evidence that we have.
Chief, did the suspect indicate at all why Charlottesville schools?
We would not divulge any of our information about this. Understand that even when these charges have been filed, there still has to be the prosecution portion, and we would not want to compromise either the investigation or the prosecution of this case.
The arrest was in Albemarle. Is this person a permanent resident of Albemarle County right now?
I could not identify, but they were arrested in Albemarle. As to their exact status of it was in Albemarle County.
Are they an Albemarle student?
Again, I wouldn't have access to their school records, but it is a 17-year-old within Albemarle, and you could probably follow up with the Albemarle School District.
Well, did this person live with a family? Are they living alone?
This is a juvenile, and I'm not going to release any additional information about the juvenile status.
He's not currently being charged as an adult.
That is correct.
The press release thanked Albemarle Police. What was their level of involvement in the investigation?
Again, in terms of what everyone's cooperation is, that they fully cooperated and assisted us when we needed that assistance. So thank you. If you don't have any further questions of ourselves, Tyler will make the individuals available for one-on-ones that have requested one-on-ones with myself, with the superintendent, and possibly the mayor as well. Thank you.
Thank you.